The palace hall stretched wide and tall with smooth silver walls and soft glowing light that came from crystal panels set high above. Every sound traveled far in this place, and even a quiet breath seemed too loud. Aaron walked slowly across the floor while holding his tools close to his chest. His steps were careful because he did not want attention. He was only a worker, and workers were meant to be unseen. Aaron had arrived at the palace 3 weeks earlier from a small human colony far from this world. He had been chosen because he understood old systems and quiet machines that others feared to touch. The palace was ancient and filled with technology that no longer belonged to any one race. Many rooms still worked while others slept in silence. Aaron's job was to wake what needed repair and leave the rest alone. He did not speak much, and he did not ask questions. That had kept him safe so far. The palace was ruled by a queen whose name was spoken with care. Some spoke of her power, and some spoke of her wisdom. Others spoke only in whispers and avoided her halls entirely. Aaron had never seen her in person. He had only seen images that appeared during formal messages. Those images felt distant and unreal. That morning Aaron was assigned to the inner wing near the throne chamber. The guards had watched him closely as he passed. Their armor shined, but their eyes stayed sharp. One of them warned him to finish quickly and leave. Aaron nodded and said nothing. He had learned that silence often earned trust faster than words. The corridor near the throne chamber felt different from the rest of the palace. The air was cooler and the light softer. The walls carried patterns that shifted slowly as if they were breathing. Aaron paused for a moment to steady himself. He told himself it was only his imagination. Old places often made the mind wander. He knelt beside a glowing panel set into the wall and began his work. His fingers moved with skill as he adjusted small parts and checked energy lines. The system hummed quietly as it responded. Aaron focused on the task and let his thoughts drift. Working helped him forget where he was. The doors to the throne chamber stood slightly open. Aaron did not mean to look, but his eyes moved on their own. Inside he saw the throne resting on a raised platform. It was shaped from dark crystal and silver metal that reflected the light like still water. It was empty and silent. The sight stirred something in him that he did not expect. Without thinking, his thoughts became words. She really is beautiful. The sound of his own voice shocked him. The words echoed across the hall and seemed to press against the walls. Aaron's heart jumped hard in his chest. He realized his mistake the moment the sentence left his mouth. He had spoken carelessly in a place where carelessness could cost everything. He froze and held his breath. His hands stopped moving and the tools felt heavy in his grip. He waited for guards to appear or alarms to sound. Nothing happened. The silence felt worse than noise. Then the air shifted behind him. Aaron felt it before he heard anything. The temperature changed slightly and the light seemed to sharpen. A presence filled the space at his back. He slowly turned with fear tightening his chest. His thoughts raced as he prepared himself for punishment. She stood there. The queen was taller than him and her posture was calm and steady. Her clothing flowed like liquid metal and caught the light with every small movement. Her eyes were bright and focused and held a depth that made Aaron feel seen in a way he had never known. She had been standing behind him when he spoke. "I see," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear, and it carried authority without effort. Aaron dropped to one knee at once. His tools slipped from his hands and hit the floor with soft sounds. He lowered his head and kept his eyes down. "I did not mean to speak without respect," Aaron said. "I was careless, and I accept any consequence." The queen said nothing for a long moment. Aaron's breathing slowed as he waited. He felt small beneath her gaze, and yet something about the silence did not feel cruel. It felt thoughtful. "Stand," the queen said. Aaron hesitated but obeyed. He rose slowly and kept his hands at his sides. He did not lift his head. His mind prepared for dismissal or removal from the palace. "You spoke without knowing you were heard," the queen said. That is uncommon here. Her words confused him. He lifted his eyes before he could stop himself. Their gazes met, and the moment stretched. He felt no anger from her. Only curiosity. I would like to understand, she continued. Why did those words come to you so easily? Aaron swallowed and searched for the right response. He had never spoken to a ruler before. He chose honesty because lies felt heavier. I have seen many places and many leaders, he said. Most rule through fear or distance. When I saw the throne and felt this place, I thought of balance and care. The word came before I could stop it. The queen studied him closely. She took a slow step forward and the light shifted around her. Aaron felt his heart race again, but he did not look away. You are human, she said. Your kind often hides thoughts or speaks too freely. You did neither. She turned her gaze toward the open throne chamber. For a brief moment her expression softened. This palace listens, she said. It remembers words spoken with truth. Aaron did not understand what she meant, but he felt the weight of it settle over him. The queen turned back to him. Finish your work, she said. You may remain. With that she turned and walked into the throne chamber. The doors closed behind her without sound. Aaron stood still for several seconds before breathing again. His hands shook as he gathered his tools. He returned to his task, but the hall no longer felt empty. Something had changed. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing with certainty. His careless words had opened a door that could never be closed again. Aaron did not sleep well that night. His room was small and quiet, but his thoughts moved without rest. The image of the queen standing behind him returned again and again. Her voice echoed in his mind, not loud but clear. He wondered why she had not punished him or sent him away. The question stayed with him until morning light reached his window. When Aaron returned to work, the palace felt different. The halls were the same, but his steps felt heavier. Guards watched him with more attention than before. Some looked curious and others looked uncertain. No one spoke to him, but he could feel their eyes follow him as he passed. His assignment that day took him deeper into the inner wing. The systems there were older and more complex. Aaron welcomed the work because it gave his hands something to do. Focus helped calm his thoughts. He repaired power lines and adjusted energy flow while listening to the quiet hum of the palace. As the day moved on, Aaron began to notice small changes. Doors opened for him faster. Guards stepped aside without warning. A servant bowed slightly as he passed. None of this had happened before. He did not understand why he was being treated differently, and the attention made him uneasy. Near midday, a quiet signal appeared on his wrist device. It was not an alarm or a task notice. It was a summons. The symbol marked the inner chamber near the throne. Aaron stared at it for several seconds before moving. His heart beat faster with each step. 2 guards stood at the entrance. They did not question him. One of them pressed a control and the door opened slowly. Aaron stepped inside and felt the air change once more. The chamber was wide and filled with soft light. The throne stood at the far end and the queen stood beside it. She turned as he entered. Her expression was calm and focused. Aaron stopped several steps away and lowered his head. You called for me, Aaron said. Yes, the queen replied. Come closer. Aaron obeyed and stopped at a respectful distance. He kept his posture straight and his hands still. The queen studied him for a moment before speaking again. You work quietly, she said. You do not seek notice. Aaron nodded. That has always been my way. The queen walked slowly around him. Her steps made no sound. Aaron remained still though he felt every movement. She stopped in front of him and met his eyes. Yesterday you spoke without fear, she said. Yet today you carry caution. Aaron considered his words carefully. Yesterday, I did not know I was heard. The queen's lips curved slightly in what might have been a smile. Honesty suits you. She gestured toward a nearby platform where glowing symbols floated in the air. "Tell me about your world." Aaron was surprised, but he answered. He spoke of small cities and open skies. He spoke of long days repairing machines and quiet nights watching stars. He kept his words simple and clear. The Queen listened without interruption. "Humans live close to uncertainty," she said when he finished. "Perhaps that is why your words come easily." She turned and looked toward the far wall where ancient markings glowed faintly. This palace was built to respond to truth. Few speak it without intention. Aaron felt a strange sense of weight at her words. "I did not mean to cause disruption." "You did not," the Queen said. "You caused curiosity." She faced him again. "I wish to understand your perspective. You see without expectation." Aaron did not know how to respond. He felt honored and unsettled at once. He nodded slowly. "I will answer if I can." The Queen dismissed him soon after. As he left the chamber, Aaron felt a mixture of relief and wonder. He returned to his work, but his hands shook slightly. He realized that his place in the palace had shifted. Over the next days, Aaron was summoned again and again. Sometimes the Queen asked him about machines. Other times she asked about human customs and thoughts. Their conversations were quiet and thoughtful. She never raised her voice. She never demanded answers. She simply listened. Aaron began to see another side of her. She was not distant or cold as the broadcasts had shown. She was thoughtful and precise. She carried responsibility with calm strength. He found himself speaking more freely in her presence. The palace responded to these moments. Lights softened when they spoke. The air seemed to settle. Systems adjusted without command. Servants whispered of change. Guards watched with unease. One evening Aaron stood alone in a corridor after finishing a task. The walls glowed gently and the palace hummed in balance. He realized that he no longer felt like a visitor. That realization frightened him. He wondered what the Queen truly wanted. He wondered what place a simple technician could have in such a world. He also wondered why he felt seen in her presence in a way he never had before. From the throne chamber the Queen stood in silence. She watched the energy flow through the palace and felt its response to Aaron. Something old had awakened. Something that had waited for a voice that spoke without fear. And she knew that whatever path lay ahead would not be simple for either of them. The palace no longer felt like a place of stone and metal to Aaron. It felt alive in a way he could not explain. Each corridor carried a quiet awareness and each light responded softly as he passed. He noticed these changes clearly now. They followed him like a gentle echo. Aaron's work schedule shifted without warning. He was no longer sent only to repair systems. He was asked to observe and report how the palace responded to certain adjustments. These requests always came after his meetings with the Queen. He began to understand that she trusted his perception more than technical skill alone. The Queen watched these changes closely. She stood often near the throne chamber windows and listened to the palace flow. She felt the systems respond faster when Aaron was near. Energy paths aligned more smoothly. Ancient mechanisms awakened without strain. This had not happened for generations. She summoned him again one evening. The chamber lights dimmed as he entered. The Queen stood beside a projection of the palace core. Symbols rotated slowly in the air. "Tell me what you feel," she said. Aaron hesitated. "I feel balance." The Queen turned to him. "Explain." "When I adjust a system it feels like it already knows what it needs," Aaron said. "As if it is waiting for permission." The Queen nodded slowly. This palace was built to bond with intent. It listens to minds that speak without conflict. She studied him carefully. "You bring no desire to control." Aaron lowered his eyes. "I only wish to repair what is broken." "That is why it responds," she said. Their conversations grew longer. They spoke of leadership and burden. The queen shared the weight of ruling many worlds. Aaron spoke of quiet lives and simple purpose. Their worlds were different, yet something connected them. Whispers began among the palace staff. Some said the queen had found a new advisor. Others said the palace itself favored the human. Guards watched Aaron more closely now. Not with threat, but with concern. One day, a council member requested an audience. He was tall and sharp in posture. His tone was controlled, but his eyes carried challenge. "This human disrupts balance," the council member said. The queen listened without reaction. "He restores it. The palace responds to him beyond protocol," the council member said. "That is dangerous." "Change often appears dangerous to those who fear it," the queen replied. Aaron was unaware of this exchange. He was deep within the lower chambers working on a dormant core. As he placed his hands near the surface, the system activated smoothly. Light spread across the chamber walls. He felt a sudden pull. Images flooded his thoughts. Memories not his own. Builders shaping the palace with purpose. Voices speaking of harmony. A role meant to be shared. Aaron staggered back. He caught himself against the wall and breathed deeply. The core stabilized. The light softened. Later that day the queen sensed the shift. She felt the palace respond strongly. She summoned Aaron at once. "You touched the core," she said. "Yes," Aaron replied. "It responded before I did." The queen's expression grew serious. "The core reflects intent deeply." "I did not command it," Aaron said. "I listened." The queen stepped closer. "Few can do that." She placed a hand over the projection. The builders believed rulers should not stand alone. They designed the palace to guide those who shared burden. Aaron felt the weight of her words. "What does that mean for me?" "It means you stand at a crossing," she said. "And so do I." The palace lights dimmed gently as if listening. Days passed with growing tension. Council members pressed for distance. Guards tightened their watch. The palace remained calm but aware. Aaron sensed unease around him. He considered leaving. He spoke of it to the queen one evening. "I do not wish to cause division," he said. "You do not," she replied. "Fear does." She met his eyes. "If you leave, the palace will lose what it has regained." Aaron struggled with the thought. He had never sought importance. He had never wanted influence. Yet he felt a responsibility now. Not to power but to balance. "I will stay," he said quietly. "As long as I am needed." The queen inclined her head slightly. "Then so will I." That night the palace shifted. Systems aligned. Energy flowed smoothly. The ancient structure recognized the choice. The council watched with concern. The guards stood ready. The palace itself remained calm. Two paths now lay ahead. One of tradition and control. One of trust and shared burden. And the palace had already begun to choose. The palace awoke before dawn with a calm, steady rhythm. Light moved gently along the walls and energy flowed without resistance. Aaron walked through the central corridor and felt the change immediately. The palace felt settled, as if a long-held breath had finally been released. Guards stood at their posts, but their tension had eased. Servants moved with quiet purpose, and no whispers followed Aaron now. The palace no longer treated him as an outsider. It accepted him as part of its balance. The queen stood alone in the throne chamber and looked out across the vast hall. She felt the palace respond to her thoughts with clarity. The weight she had carried for so long felt lighter. She understood now what the builders had intended. She summoned the council. The council gathered in a wide chamber lined with ancient symbols. Aaron stood to the side as requested. He kept his posture calm and his eyes steady. The council members watched him closely. "The palace has chosen alignment," the queen said. "It has responded to shared intent." One council member stepped forward. This path breaks tradition. The queen nodded. Tradition preserved us. Balance will guide us forward. She turned toward Aaron. This human does not command. He listens. The chamber fell silent. The palace lights glowed softly. Energy moved in steady waves along the walls. The council felt it. They could not deny it. The palace agrees, another council member said quietly. The queen faced them fully. Then we will adapt. Aaron felt a deep sense of humility. He had never sought this moment. He simply stood present and open. The queen approached him. Will you remain? Aaron answered without hesitation. I will remain and serve balance. The palace responded with a gentle shift. Systems aligned. The ancient structure accepted the decision. From that day forward Aaron's role became clear. He was not ruler or advisor in title. He was a bridge. He walked the palace and listened to its needs. He worked beside the queen and spoke honestly when asked. The queen ruled with renewed clarity. She no longer stood alone against endless responsibility. She shared burden, not power. The palace thrived under this harmony. Visitors from distant worlds noticed the change. Negotiations flowed more smoothly. Conflicts softened before reaching force. The palace became a place of calm authority rather than silent fear. Aaron often walked the halls at night. He listened to the quiet hum of systems in balance. He remembered the moment his careless words had slipped free. He understood now that truth spoken without intent carried great strength. The queen joined him one evening. They stood together beneath the crystal ceiling. You changed nothing, she said. You revealed what was missing. Aaron lowered his head slightly. I only spoke honestly. That is rare, she replied. They stood in silence as the palace lights dimmed gently around them. The builders had believed rulers should never stand alone. The palace had waited patiently for minds that spoke without conflict. It had waited for balance to return. Far beyond the palace walls stars continued their endless paths. Worlds turned and histories unfolded. At the heart of it, all the palace stood calm and alive. And a single careless sentence had shaped a future no one had expected.